The smoke was thick and black. It rose from the broken buildings like dark fingers reaching toward the sky. Colony 12 was burning. Tay opened his eyes slowly. His head hurt. His body hurt. Everything hurt. He was lying under a pile of broken metal and stone. He pushed against the weight on his chest and crawled out of the wreckage of what used to be his small home. 3 days. The attack had happened 3 days ago. He had been unconscious for most of that time. His water bottle was empty. His lips were cracked and dry. But he was alive. He stood up slowly and looked around. The colony was destroyed. Buildings that once stood tall were now nothing but ruins. Bodies lay in the streets. Human bodies. His neighbors. His friends. All dead. The Vec had come without warning. Their ships had appeared in the sky like a swarm of insects. Then the bombs fell. Then the soldiers came. The insectoid aliens had swept through the colony with terrible speed. They killed anyone who resisted. They captured anyone who did not. Tay was a former Marine. He had fought in 3 wars before he was discharged in disgrace. He came to Colony 12 to hide from his past, to drink away his memories, to be alone. Now everyone was dead, and he was still alive. The universe had a cruel sense of humor. He walked through the ruins slowly. His legs were weak. He needed water. He needed food. But first, he needed to see if anyone else had survived. The colony had been home to 8,000 people, families, children, workers and farmers and teachers, all gone in a single night. Tay had seen war before. He had seen death before. But this was different. This was not war. This was slaughter. He searched for 3 hours. He found only bodies. Some were burned. Some were torn apart by Vec weapons. Some looked peaceful, as if they had simply fallen asleep and never woken up. Tay was about to give up when he heard a sound. It was small and quiet. A soft breath. A tiny movement. It came from a collapsed building near the center of the colony. He moved toward the sound carefully. Vec patrol drones were still flying overhead. Their red lights scanned the ruins for survivors. If they found him, they would send soldiers. He needed to be quiet. The sound came from a water recycling unit. The machine had fallen on its side during the attack. There was a small space inside it, just big enough for a child. Tay knelt down and looked inside. 2 eyes stared back at him. Dark eyes. Human eyes. A little girl, no more than 7 years old, was hiding inside the machine. She did not speak. She did not cry. She just stared at him with those dark, empty eyes. Her face was dirty. Her clothes were torn. Her hair was tangled and messy. But she was alive. Tay reached out his hand slowly. "Come out," he said. His voice was rough from not speaking for 3 days. "I will not hurt you." The girl did not move. She just kept staring at him. Tay understood. He had seen this before in soldiers who had witnessed terrible things. The mind shuts down to protect itself. The girl had probably watched her parents die. She had hidden in this machine and stayed there for 3 days, too afraid to move, too broken to cry. He did not force her to come out. Instead, he sat down next to the machine and waited. He talked to her in a soft voice. He told her his name. He told her that the bad things were over now. He told her that she was safe. After an hour, she moved. Slowly, carefully, she crawled out of the machine. She stood in front of him, small and thin and silent. She looked up at his scarred face without fear. Tay did not know what to do. He had never been good with children. He had never been good with people at all. But he could not leave her alone. "What is your name?" he asked. She did not answer. "Can you speak?" Nothing. Just those dark, empty eyes. Tay sighed. He looked around at the ruins. The VEC would send more patrols soon. They would search for survivors to capture. He needed to move. He needed to find shelter, food, and water. And now he had a child to protect. He did not ask for this. He did not want this. But here she was. "Okay," he said quietly. "We are going to leave this place. Stay close to me. Stay quiet. Can you do that?" The girl nodded once. Just a small movement of her head. But it was enough. They moved through the ruins together. Tay held her hand. Her fingers were tiny and cold in his rough palm. He led her through the broken streets, avoiding the open areas where the drones could see them. They were almost at the edge of the colony when they heard the sound. A high-pitched whine. VEC drones. 3 of them, coming fast. Tay pushed the girl behind a broken wall. "Stay here," he whispered. "Do not move." He picked up a broken metal pipe from the ground. It was heavy and sharp at one end. Not much of a weapon against alien technology, but it was all he had. The drones came around the corner. Their red lights scanned the area. They saw him immediately. Tay did not run. He did not hide. He charged straight at them. The first drone fired at him. The shot missed by inches. Tay swung the pipe with all his strength and smashed the drone out of the air. Sparks flew. Metal screamed. The second drone tried to rise higher. Tay jumped and grabbed it with his bare hand. He slammed it into the ground and stomped on it until it stopped moving. The third drone sent a signal. Tay knew what that meant. Soldiers were coming. He destroyed the third drone just as 2 VEC soldiers appeared. They were tall and thin, with hard shells covering their bodies. Their eyes were black and cold. They made clicking sounds as they raised their weapons. Tay did not wait for them to fire. He ran at the first soldier and drove the pipe through a gap in its armor. The alien screamed and fell. Tay pulled the pipe free and turned to face the second one. The soldier fired. The shot hit Tay in the shoulder. Pain exploded through his body. But he did not stop. He could not stop. There was a child behind him who needed him to win. He roared like an animal and threw himself at the alien. They fell to the ground together. Tay hit the creature again and again until it stopped moving. Then there was silence. Tay stood up slowly. Blood ran down his arm. His whole body was shaking. But he was alive. The girl was safe. A voice spoke behind him. Tay turned and saw another survivor. An old man hiding in the shadows. The man looked at the dead aliens, then at Tay, then back at the aliens. "Honey Badger," the old man whispered. "You are the Honey Badger." Tay did not respond. He walked back to where the girl was hiding. She was still there, watching him with those dark eyes. She did not look scared. She looked almost calm. He knelt down in front of her. "We need to go," he said. "There will be more of them." She reached out and touched the blood on his shoulder. Then she took his hand again. Tay looked at her. He looked at the destruction around them. He thought about all the people who had died. He thought about the VEC and their army that covered the stars. Then he made a promise. He spoke it out loud so the universe could hear. "I will keep you safe," he said to the girl. "And I will make them pay for what they did. Every single one of them." The girl squeezed his hand. And together, they walked into the smoke and the darkness, leaving the dead behind. The Honey Badger had found something to fight for. And the VEC had no idea what was coming. They traveled at night. During the day, they had Tay learned this rule quickly. The VEC controlled the sky. Their ships flew overhead like metal birds, always watching, always searching. During daylight, their sensors could find a mouse hiding under a rock. But at night, they were weaker. Their eyes did not see well in the dark. Human eyes were different. Tay could see in the dim light of the stars. He moved through the shadows like a ghost. holding the girl's hand tightly. 5 days had passed since they left Colony 12. 5 days of walking through burned forests and empty fields. 5 days of hiding from patrols and eating whatever scraps they could find. Tay's shoulder wound was healing slowly. It hurt when he moved, but he ignored the pain. The girl still had not spoken. She followed him without complaint. She ate when he gave her food. She slept when he told her to sleep. But she never said a word. Her eyes remained empty and distant, like windows looking into a dark room. Tay did not push her. He had seen soldiers break down after battle. Sometimes the mind needed time to heal. Sometimes it never healed at all. He hoped the girl would find her voice again, but he did not force it. On the 6th night, they ran out of food. Tay's stomach growled. The girl looked up at him. Her stomach growled too, but she did not complain. That made it worse somehow. A child should complain when she was hungry. A child should cry when she was scared. This silence was not natural. He needed to find food. But there was nothing to find. The Vec had destroyed everything. The farms were burned. The animals were dead. The only food left was in Vec supply convoys. Tay made a decision. It was a stupid decision. It was a dangerous decision. But the girl needed to eat. He found a hiding spot in a small cave. "Stay here," he told her. "I will be back before sunrise." The girl grabbed his hand. For the first time, he saw something in her eyes. Fear. She was afraid of being alone. Tay knelt down in front of her. "I promise I will come back," he said. "I always keep my promises. Do you believe me?" She looked at him for a long moment. Then she nodded and let go of his hand. Tay moved through the darkness toward the nearest road. Vec convoys used the old human highways to move supplies between their bases. If he was lucky, he could find one and steal some food. He was not lucky. He found a convoy, but it was heavily guarded. 6 large transport vehicles surrounded by at least 20 Vec soldiers. Too many for one man to fight, but Tay was not a normal man. He was a honey badger, and honey badgers did not care about the odds. He waited until the convoy stopped to let the soldiers rest. Then he moved in, silent, careful, like a shadow, made of anger and sharp edges. The first soldier died before it knew he was there. Tay's knife found the soft spot between its neck plates. The alien fell without a sound. The second soldier was harder. It turned just as Tay reached it. He grabbed its head and twisted. The crack was loud in the quiet night. Other soldiers heard it. They started clicking their alarm sounds. Tay stopped being quiet. He started being fast. He moved through the soldiers like a storm. His knife flashed in the starlight. His fists broke shells. His feet crushed limbs. The aliens tried to shoot him, but he was too close, too fast, too angry. When it was over, 12 soldiers lay dead on the ground. Tay was bleeding from new cuts on his arms and face. His whole body screamed with pain. But he was standing, and they were not. He grabbed as much food as he could carry and disappeared into the darkness before reinforcements could arrive. When he returned to the cave, the girl was awake. She was sitting exactly where he had left her, watching the entrance. When she saw him, something changed in her eyes. Relief, trust, maybe even a little bit of hope. Tay sat down next to her and opened one of the stolen food packages. It was Vec food, designed for alien bodies, but it would keep them alive. "Eat," he said, holding it out to her. The girl took the food. She ate slowly at first, then faster as her hunger took over. When she was done, she looked at him. Then she spoke. Hungry. It was just one word. A small, quiet word. But it was the first word she had said since he found her. Tay felt something shift in his chest. Something that had been cold and dead for a long time started to feel warm again. "I know," he said, "but we have food now. You will not be hungry anymore." She nodded and leaned against his arm. Within minutes, she was asleep. Tay did not sleep. He sat in the darkness, watching over her, thinking about what he had done. 12 soldiers. He had killed 12 Vex soldiers just to feed a child he barely knew. A child whose name he did not even know. But somehow, it felt right. For the first time in years, Tay felt like he had a purpose. The next morning, they continued their journey. Tay had heard rumors of a resistance camp in the northern mountains. If they could reach it, they might find safety. They might find other survivors, but the road was long and dangerous. And Tay was not the only one who had noticed the attack on the convoy. Far above, in his flagship orbiting the planet, Overlord Keth received a report. One of his supply convoys had been attacked. 12 soldiers killed. No survivors among the attackers. No clues about who did it. Tej was not worried. 12 soldiers were nothing. He had millions. But he was curious. What kind of creature could kill 12 of his warriors alone in the dark? He ordered his officers to investigate. Find the attacker. Capture them if possible. Kill them if not. Meanwhile, Tay and the girl continued walking. They found a small stream where they could drink and wash. The girl let Tay clean her face with a piece of torn cloth. She almost smiled when the cold water touched her skin. On the 7th day, they met Hannah Dodd. She came running out of the trees, covered in dirt and blood. Behind her, 2 Vex soldiers were giving chase. She was young, maybe 20 years old, with short black hair and desperate eyes. Tay reacted without thinking. He pushed the girl behind a rock and ran toward the soldiers. The first one saw him coming and raised its weapon. Too slow. Tay hit it in the chest with a flying kick that cracked its shell. The second soldier tried to grab him. Tay caught its arm, twisted, and threw it to the ground. A quick stomp to the head ended the fight. The young woman stared at him. She was breathing hard. Her hands were shaking. "Thank you," she gasped. "Thank you. I thought I was dead." "Who are you?" Tay asked. "Hannah. I am a medic. I was at a medical outpost east of here. The Vec destroyed it yesterday. I am the only one who escaped." Tay studied her face. She looked honest. Scared, but honest. "Where are you going?" "The mountains. I heard there are people there. Resistance fighters. Maybe I can help them. Maybe I can be useful." Tay nodded. He was going the same direction. He could use a medic. His shoulder still hurt, and he had new wounds that needed attention. "You can come with us," he said. "But you follow my rules. You stay quiet. You do what I say. Understand?" Hannah nodded quickly. Yes, I understand." "Thank you." She noticed the girl peeking out from behind the rock. Her expression softened. "Who is this?" "I do not know her name. She does not speak much." Hannah walked toward the girl slowly, kneeling down to look at her face to face. "Hello, little one. My name is Hannah. Are you hurt?" The girl shook her head. Hannah smiled gently. "That is good. I am a doctor. If you ever feel sick or hurt, you can tell me." "Okay." The girl looked at Hannah for a long moment. Then she looked at Tay, as if asking for permission. Tay nodded. The girl looked back at Hannah. "Sue," she said quietly. "My name is Sue." It was the second time she had spoken. Tay felt that warmth in his chest again. Sue. Now the girl had a name. Hannah's smile grew wider. "Sue, that is a beautiful name." And so they became 3. The honey badger, the silent child, the young medic. An unlikely group traveling through a broken world toward a hope they were not sure existed. That night, Hannah used her medical supplies to treat Tay's wounds. She worked quickly and carefully. "You should be dead," she said, looking at his injuries. "These wounds are serious. How are you still walking? Tay shrugged. I do not know how to die. Hannah shook her head. You are crazy. Maybe. Sue was asleep nearby, wrapped in a blanket that Hannah had brought from the destroyed outpost. She looked peaceful for the first time since Tay had found her. Hannah followed his gaze. You care about her, she said. Someone has to. The soldiers at the convoy. That was you, was it not? The reports are spreading. They say a demon attacked them. A monster that cannot be killed. Tay said nothing. Hannah looked at him with new respect. They call you the honey badger. I heard stories about you during the war. I thought they were just legends. Legends are for heroes, Tay said. I am not a hero. Then what are you? Tay looked at Sue's sleeping face. He thought about the promise he had made. He thought about the long road ahead. I am just someone who made a promise, he said. And I always keep my promises. The mountains rose against the sky like giant teeth. Cold and tall and impossible. But somewhere in those mountains, there were people. Survivors. Fighters. Hope. Tay, Hannah, and Sue had walked for 2 weeks. They had crossed burned fields and dead forests. They had hidden from Vec patrols and slept in caves and ruins. They had eaten stolen food and drunk from dirty streams. But they were still alive. On the 15th day, they reached City 9. The city had been one of the largest settlements on the planet. 50,000 people had lived there before the war. Now it was a Vec fortress. Their soldiers marched through the streets. Their ships filled the sky. Their flags hung from every building like ugly scars. To reach the mountains, they had to go through the city. There is no other way? Hannah asked, looking at the sprawling mass of buildings ahead. Tay shook his head. The mountains block everything else. The only path is through. Sue stood between them, holding Tay's hand. She had been speaking more each day. Short sentences. Simple words. But her eyes were no longer empty. There was life in them now. Life and trust. I am not scared, Sue said quietly. Tay looked down at her. Good, because we are going to walk through that city tonight. And I need you to be brave. They waited until darkness fell. Then they moved. The city was a maze of broken streets and destroyed buildings. The Vec had rebuilt some areas for their soldiers, but most of the city was still ruins. Tay used the ruins. He moved through the shadows, finding paths where no paths should exist. For 3 hours, everything went well. They avoided patrols. They stayed hidden. They were almost halfway through when everything went wrong. A Vec scout spotted them. It made a clicking sound and raised its weapon. Tay was too far away to stop it from firing, but Hannah was not. She grabbed a rock from the ground and threw it with all her strength. It hit the scout in the head. Not hard enough to kill it, but hard enough to make its shot go wide. Tay closed the distance in seconds and finished the job, but the damage was done. The scout's weapon had made noise. Other soldiers heard it. They were coming. Run. Tay said that they ran. Tay carried Sue on his back. Her small arms wrapped around his neck. Hannah ran beside them, gasping for breath. Behind them, Vec soldiers poured into the streets like water from a broken dam. Tay did not know how many there were. 10, 20, maybe more. Too many to fight. All he could do was run. They turned corner after corner, climbed over walls, crawled through holes in buildings. The Vec followed, always following, never stopping. Then they hit a dead end. A wall too high to climb. No doors, no windows, no escape. Tay put Sue down and turned to face the approaching soldiers. His body was tired. His wounds ached, but his eyes were cold and hard. Hannah, he said without looking back. Protect Sue. Tay, there are too many. Protect Sue. Hannah grabbed the girl and pulled her behind a pile of rubble. Sue tried to call out, but Hana covered her mouth. Tay waited. The first soldier appeared around the corner. Then another. Then another. 17 in total. They spread out, surrounding him. Their weapons pointed at his chest. One of them made clicking sounds. It was speaking. Tay did not understand the words, but he understood the meaning. Surrender. Give up. You cannot win. Tay smiled. It was not a nice smile. It was the smile of a man who had nothing left to lose. I am the honey badger, he said quietly, and I do not surrender. He attacked. What happened next was not a fight. It was a slaughter. Tay moved faster than any human should move. He broke the first soldier's neck before it could fire. He took its weapon and shot 2 more. He threw the empty weapon at a fourth and crushed its skull with his fist. The soldiers fired at him. Some shots missed. Some hit. Tay felt the pain but did not stop. Could not stop. Sue was behind him. He had promised to keep her safe. He killed them all. When it was over, Tay stood alone in a circle of dead aliens. Blood ran from wounds on his arms, his legs, his chest. His breath came in ragged gasps. His vision was blurry, but he was standing, and they were not. Hana came running out from behind the rubble. Her face was white with shock. Tay, you are bleeding. I know. Sue ran to him and grabbed his leg. She looked up at him with tears in her eyes. You are hurt, she said. You are hurt because of me. Tay knelt down slowly. It hurt to move. Everything hurt. But he needed to look at her face. I am hurt because I chose to protect you, he said. That is my choice. My decision. Do you understand? Sue nodded, but the tears did not stop. Tay wiped them away with his bloody fingers. Do not cry for me. I have survived worse. We need to keep moving before more soldiers come. They moved. Slowly, painfully. But they moved. Hana helped Tay walk when his legs grew weak. Sue walked beside them, holding his hand, refusing to let go. They reached the edge of the city as the sun began to rise. Beyond the buildings, the mountains waited. And in those mountains, smoke rose from hidden fires. People were there. Living people. They had made it. The resistance found them 2 hours later. A patrol of 4 humans, armed with stolen Vec weapons and wearing rough clothes. They looked at Tay's wounds and Hana's medical bag and Sue's small face with wonder. You came through City 9? One of them asked. He was older, with gray hair and hard eyes. That is impossible. And yet here we are. Tay said. The patrol led them up the mountain. The path was hidden and difficult, designed to keep the Vec from finding their base. After an hour of climbing, they reached a cave entrance hidden behind a waterfall. Inside, the cave opened into a massive space. Hundreds of people lived there. Men, women, children. Soldiers and farmers and teachers. All that remained of the human population on this world. An old man approached them. He was short and thin, with white hair and bright eyes. He looked at Tay for a long moment, then smiled. So, the honey badger has come to our mountain. You know me? Tay asked. Everyone knows you. Word travels fast. A man who kills Vec soldiers like they are insects. A man who walked through City 9 with a child on his back. The stories are spreading. The people need heroes. I am not a hero. The old man laughed. Heroes never think they are heroes. That is what makes them heroes. He extended his hand. My name is Wu. I lead the technical division here. Weapons, machines, anything that needs fixing or breaking. Tay shook his hand. Tay, I know. Wu looked at Sue, who was still holding Tay's hand. And who is this brave young lady? Sue looked up at him. Sue, she said. Welcome, Sue. Are you hungry? She nodded. Wu smiled and waved to a woman nearby. Take this child to the kitchen. Give her whatever she wants. Sue looked at Tay. He nodded. Go, eat. I will be here when you come back. She hesitated, then let go of his hand and followed the woman into the cave. Wu's smile faded. He looked at Tay with serious eyes. You are badly hurt. Our medics will treat you. But first, I must tell you something. What? The Vec know we are here. They have been searching the mountains for weeks. We have hidden well, but they will find us eventually. And when they do, he shook his head. We have 300 fighters. They have millions. Tay said nothing. He already knew this. He had seen the Vec ships in the sky. He knew the odds. Our leaders want you to fight for us, Wu continued. They want you to lead our soldiers. Your name alone gives people courage. But I see something in your eyes. You did not come here to fight for us. You came here for the girl. Yes, Wu nodded slowly. I understand. A man who protects a child in the middle of a war. That is a good man. Maybe the best kind of man. He paused. But the war will find you here, Tay. The Vec will come. And when they do, protecting that girl will mean fighting beside us. Tay looked toward the cave where Sue had gone. He thought about her small hand in his. He thought about his promise. Then I will fight, he said. Not for your cause. Not for your leaders. I will fight for her. And if your enemies are her enemies, then I will destroy them all. Wu smiled again. Good enough for me. That night, while Tay slept and Hana watched over him, Sue sat in Wu's workshop. She watched him work on broken machines. She watched the pieces fit together. She watched the lights blink and the screens glow dot, and something in her mind began to wake up. Something that had been sleeping since the attack on Colony 12. Something that would change everything. But that was a secret for another day. For now, the honey badger rested. His wounds healed. His strength returned. And in the darkness of space, Overlord Keth studied the reports from his officers. The human called the honey badger had reached the mountain stronghold. He had killed 47 Vec soldiers in 2 weeks. Keth was no longer curious. He was angry. He gave the order. Mobilize the full armada. 50,000 soldiers. 12 capital ships. Every weapon they had dot. It was time to end the human resistance once and for all. The armada came. 3 weeks later, Tay was standing at the cave entrance when he saw them. A wall of ships filling the sky. So many that they blocked out the sun. So many that the ground shook from the sound of their engines. 50,000 soldiers. 12 capital ships. Enough firepower to destroy mountains. All of it coming for them. The resistance leaders called an emergency meeting. 300 fighters sat in the main cavern, their faces pale with fear. They knew what was coming. They knew they could not win. The leader of the resistance was a woman named Ji. She was tall and strong, with scars on her face from old battles. She stood at the front of the cavern and looked at her people. We have 2 choices, she said. We can try to escape into the deep mountains, or we can stay and fight. If we run, they will chase us, someone called out. They will hunt us until we are all dead. If we stay, we die anyway, another voice said. There are too many of them. The room erupted in arguments. Fear turned to anger. Anger turned to despair. No one had an answer. Tay stood at the back of the room, silent. Hana was beside him. Sue sat nearby, watching everyone with her quiet eyes. In the weeks since they arrived, Sue had changed. She talked more now. She smiled sometimes. But there was something else too. Something strange. She spent hours in Wu's workshop, watching him work on alien technology. She asked questions that surprised even the old engineer. She seemed to understand things that no child should understand, and she had been drawing. Every night, Sue drew pictures on scraps of paper. Most of them were just shapes and lines, but some of them were different. Some of them looked like machines, like circuits, like patterns. Tay did not understand what they meant, but Wu did. And Wu had been acting strange ever since he saw them. Now, in the middle of the meeting, Sue stood up. Her small voice cut through the noise like a knife. "I know how to win." Everyone stopped talking. 300 faces turned to look at the little girl. Ji frowned. "What did you say?" Sue walked forward. She was so small among all these adults, so fragile. But her eyes were clear and certain. "I know how to beat them," she said. "I can see it." Someone laughed. "A child? What does a child know about war?" But Wu stepped forward. His face was serious. "Listen to her," he said. "I have been working with this girl for 3 weeks. She sees things that none of us see." Ji looked at Wu, then at Sue. "Explain." Sue pulled out a piece of paper. On it was a drawing. Lines and circles and symbols that meant nothing to most people in the room. But to Wu, they meant everything. "The Vec are connected," Sue said. "All of them. Every soldier. Every ship. They share one mind. One signal." She pointed to a spot on her drawing. "This is the center. The place where the signal comes from. If you break this, they all break. They cannot fight without it. They cannot think without it." The room was silent. Ji leaned forward. "Where is this center?" "The big ship," Sue said. "The leader's ship. In the middle." Tay felt something cold move through his chest. The flagship. Overlord Keth's personal vessel. The most heavily defended ship in the entire armada. "That is impossible," someone said. "No one can reach that ship. No one can get inside." "I can." Everyone turned to look at Tay. He stepped forward, his face hard as stone. "I can reach it. I can get inside. I can break whatever needs breaking." Ji shook her head. "It is suicide. Even you cannot fight through an entire ship of soldiers. I do not need to fight all of them. I just need to reach the center and destroy it." He looked at Sue. "Where exactly is it? Can you show me?" Sue nodded. She drew more lines on her paper. "Here, in the middle of the ship, there is a machine. A big machine. It connects to the leader. If you break the machine, the signal stops." Wu examined the drawing. His old eyes went wide. "She is right. This is the command structure. I have seen hints of it in the Vec technology we captured, but I never understood it until now." He looked at Sue with wonder. "How do you know this?" Sue shrugged. "I just see it. In my head. Like a picture." Tay did not care how she knew. He only cared that she was right. And looking at Wu's face, he knew she was right. "I need a team," he said. "Volunteers who are willing to die for this." Hannah stepped forward immediately. "I am coming." "Hannah, do not argue with me. You will need a medic. You always need a medic." Other hands rose. 5 more volunteers. Young fighters who wanted to do something. Who wanted to matter. Ji looked at them. Her eyes were wet, but her voice was steady. "This is a one-way mission. You understand that?" Tay nodded. "We understand." Wu came forward with a small device. It was rough and ugly, made from stolen Vec parts and human tools. "This is an EMP, electromagnetic pulse, based on the girl's drawings. If you connect it directly to the command machine, it will destroy everything. The signal will die. The army will collapse." Tay took the device. It was heavy in his hand. "How close do I need to be?" "Direct contact. You have to touch the machine with it. Then I will touch the machine with it." The meeting ended. The fighters began to prepare. The plan was simple. A diversionary attack on the ground to draw Vec attention. Meanwhile, Tay and his team would approach the flagship from below, using a damaged section of hull that scouts had identified. It was a desperate plan. A crazy plan. But it was the only plan they had. That night, Tay found Sue in Wu's workshop. She was sitting alone, looking at her drawings. "You should be sleeping," he said. "I cannot sleep." He sat down beside her. His body was healed now. His wounds were scars. He was ready to fight again. "Are you scared?" Sue asked. "No, liar." Tay almost smiled. She was getting braver. More like a normal child. That was good. That meant she was healing too. "I am a little scared," he admitted. "But fear is not bad. Fear keeps you sharp. Fear keeps you alive." Sue turned to look at him. Her dark eyes studied his face. "You are going to die tomorrow. Maybe. I do not want you to die." Tay felt that warmth in his chest again. The warmth that only she could create. "I do not want to die either. But some things are more important than living." "Like what?" "Like keeping you safe. Like keeping everyone safe." He put his hand on her head. "You gave us a chance, Sue. Your drawings. Your ideas. Without you, we would have no hope at all." She was quiet for a moment. Then she reached up and touched the scars on his face. The scars he had earned protecting her during their journey. "Come back," she whispered. Tay felt his heart break a little. This was why he fought. This moment. This child. This small hand on his face. He knelt down and took her hands in his. They were so tiny, so fragile, but they held all the hope in the world. "I always come back," he said. "Do you remember what I told you? I always keep my promises. Promise me. Promise you will come back." Tay looked into her eyes. He wanted to lie. He wanted to tell her everything would be okay. But he had never lied to her before. "I promise I will try," he said. "I promise I will fight with everything I have. And if there is any way to come back to you, I will find it." Sue threw her arms around his neck. She held him tight. So tight. "I believe you," she said. They stayed like that for a long time. The honey badger and the child who had given him something to live for. When morning came, Tay was ready. He stood at the entrance of the cave with his team. Hana was beside him. The 5 volunteers checked their weapons. Below them, the resistance fighters prepared for the diversionary attack. The armada hung in the sky like a death sentence. Wu approached Tay one last time. "The EMP is set. Just press the button and hold it against the target. It will do the rest." Tay nodded. "And Tay?" "That girl sees things. I do not know how or why, but she sees things that no one else can see. Protect that gift. The universe needs it. I will." G gave the signal. The attack began. Explosions erupted across the mountain. The resistance fighters opened fire on Vec ground forces. Ships swooped down to respond. And in the chaos, Tay and his team began their climb toward the flagship. The mission had begun. Behind them, standing at the cave entrance, Sue watched them go. Her small hands were clasped together. Her lips moved silently. "Come back," she whispered. "Please come back." The flagship was enormous. A mountain of metal floating in the sky. Tay and his team moved through the chaos of battle below. The resistance fighters were dying. They were buying time with their blood. Tay could hear their screams. Even from here. He could not let their sacrifice be wasted. They reached the damaged section of hull that the scouts had found. A hole torn by some ancient battle, patched poorly and forgotten. Tay forced it open with his bare hands. Metal screamed. His muscles burned. But the hole opened. "Go," he said. They went. Inside, the flagship was a maze of dark corridors and strange machines. Everything was built for insects. The walls were covered in a hard material like shell. The lights were dim and red. The air smelled wrong. They encountered their first patrol within minutes. 4 soldiers standing guard at a junction. Tay killed them before they could raise an alarm. His knife moved like lightning. His hands broke shells. They kept moving. The second patrol was bigger. 8 soldiers. One of the volunteers died in the fighting. Then another. Hannah took a wound to her arm, but kept going. They were halfway to the command center when the alarm started. The sound was terrible. High and sharp and everywhere. Lights flashed. Doors began to close. The entire ship came alive with Vex soldiers rushing to find the intruders. "We are out of time," Hannah said. "Then we moved faster." They ran. Tay led the way, killing everything in his path. Soldiers fell before him like grass before a storm. But there were always more. Always more. Another volunteer died. Then another. Soon only 3 remained. Tay, Hannah, and a young man named Jun. 3 humans against an army. They reached the command center doors. Jun tried to open them. A Vex soldier appeared from nowhere and shot him in the chest. Jun fell without a sound. Tay killed the soldier. But Jun was dead. Now they were 2. Hannah was breathing hard. Blood ran down her arm. Her face was white with pain. "Tay, I cannot go any further." "Yes, you can." "No." She grabbed his arm. "Go. Finish the mission. I will hold them here." "Hannah, there is no time to argue." She pushed him toward the door. "Go. Do not let them die for nothing." Tay looked at her. This woman who had joined them on the road. This woman who had healed his wounds and cared for Sue. This brave, stupid, wonderful woman. "Thank you," he said. "Come back alive," she said. Sue is waiting. Tay turned and ran through the door. Behind him, Hannah raised her weapon and began to fight. The command center was huge. Machines lined the walls. Screens showed images of the battle outside. And in the center of the room stood a massive structure. A column of light and metal and power. The command signal. The heart of the Vec army. But Tay was not alone. Overlord Keth stood before him. The alien was tall. Taller than any Vec Tay had ever seen. His shell was black and shining. The shell was black and shining. His eyes were like pools of darkness. He radiated power and cold intelligence. "So," Keth said. His voice was like ice-scraping stone. "The honey badger. The creature that has killed so many of my soldiers. You are smaller than I expected." Tay did not respond. He studied his enemy. The alien was armed with a weapon Tay had never seen before. His elite guards stood around him. 6 of them. The best fighters in the Vec army. "Do you know why you will fail?" Keth continued. "Because you are one creature, alone. I command millions. What can one human do against such numbers?" Tay smiled. It was a terrible smile, full of blood and pain and unbroken will. "I am not just one human," he said. "I am a honey badger, and I do not care how big you are." He attacked. The elite guards moved to intercept him. They were fast. Faster than any Vec he had fought before. But Tay was faster. He was not fighting for honor or victory. He was fighting for a little girl who was waiting for him. He killed the first guard with a broken piece of metal. Drove it through the soft spot beneath its chin. The second guard grabbed him from behind. Tay threw himself backward, crushing the alien against the wall. He felt something break. Not his own bones. The third and fourth guards attacked together. Tay took a wound to his side, another to his leg. But he kept fighting. He grabbed one guard and used it as a shield against the other. Then he killed them both. 2 guards remained. And Tay was bleeding from a dozen wounds. His vision was blurry. His body screamed for rest. But he could not rest. Not yet. He killed the 5th guard with his bare hands. crushed its throat, and threw it aside. The sixth guard shot him in the shoulder, the same shoulder that had been wounded before. Tay roared in pain but did not fall. He charged the guard and killed it with the last of his strength.